I just don't like taking cheap shots, you know?
Cheap shots? Morty, we were literally saved by Jesus Christ. Tell me in any way how that's offensive.
Look, it's no secret that Rick and Morty is a very controversial and divisive cartoon, which is why the fallout from the latest episode, The Never Ricking Morty, is exactly what you would expect. It hasn't even been 2 full days, but so many people have either sworn off the show and insulted the episode, or are making fun of those doing so. Normal day for Rick and Morty, honestly. But all around, there's one question that we can't seem to escape. Is Rick and Morty done with the idea of a story? Are we actually done with the likes of Evil Morty, the Galactic Federation, even Beth being a clone, even though that wasn't addressed in this episode specifically? Well, here's the interesting thing. Despite how finite this episode seemed, it explicitly is not canon. The Rick that disowned these storylines isn't real. So let's try to decide once and for all, are we done with Evil Morty and the other big questions in the show? Let's look at the facts. First of all, it's odd that so many people are walking away from this episode thinking we're never going to get a follow-up at all. That the show is going to go completely, quote, episodic, and I use air quotes with episodic because episodic shows can have both continuity and non-canon experiences. Now, yes, Rick does make sly remarks about how nobody wanted to see that, poking fun at Evil Morty and the Galactic Federation enthusiasts, which is a majority of the fans, going on to say now that they've gotten all of that out of the way, they can finally be themselves. Yes, that does seem like Rick distancing himself from those conflicts, but 2 things are important here. First of all, the Rick and Morty pair in this episode wasn't even real. After Rick makes that remark, they literally find out they're a part of a corporate product. Everything he says has no bearing to the show itself. None of the episode technically does, yet for some reason fans are only focusing on these fake outs being non-canon. The bottom line is a non-canon Rick enduring a non-canon adventure and then claiming they're done with these plot points now means nothing. If you skip this episode, nothing would happen. So why assume it has some almighty power over the series as a whole? If anything, this entire episode could have been just a venting writing exercise for the team of Rick and Morty. That's why they went out of their way to make it so crazy and non-canon. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we're going to have these scenes unfold into proper episodes. They were executed in a way to be comically over the top, and quite frankly, they'd be tonally off if they were proper episodes. That's exactly what they were jokes. We will probably never see Rick, Morty, Summer, and Snowball take on Tammy's rogue federation. We may never see Rick and Morty have their backs against the wall as Evil Morty commands an army of Ricks. We may never even see evil Mr. Poopy Butthole, and now that is a crime. Also, quick side rant, I will never forgive the characters for naming him that. I've had to sit in front of a microphone and talk seriously about a person named Mr. Poopy Butthole, and every time I say the phrase, I feel so stupid. I don't know if anyone relates to this. Why did they name him that? Okay, rant over. Back to the matter at hand. Fandoms are the lifeblood of a show. They really keep the show going, and they are a very beautiful thing. However, I think the internet, and more so fandoms in general, get so hell-bent on being correct, this very channel, guilty as charged, that a show presenting a harmless joke has been transformed into a show shooting down fans who dared to have expectations and excitement. I can see how it was perceived that way, and on first watch, that's how I felt too. But I don't think that was the point of the episode at all. The novelty of sticking in all these major storylines in an anthology format was the fact that it would be funny for Rick and Morty to relegate these stories as random anthologies that don't matter, even though they do matter and they're the biggest stories of the show. It's all subversion. That's literally the joke. They were making a joke. These storylines aren't technically over yet, but they won't be as epic and straightforward as they were presented here, because if they were, then it wouldn't be Rick and Morty. As sick as this final scene felt, where the camera was zooming through the army of Ricks and it looked like a movie, that would have literally never happened in Rick and Morty. It's too straightforward, it's too clear cut. Of course it was made to be a joke, they were making fun of themselves. That being said, this could also be damage control. I feel like to an extent the crew was just trying to manage expectations, giving us a little taste of what we wanted to see so they can continue on moving at their own pace and eventually catch us off guard when it's finally time to get plot heavy again. I just want to reiterate, Rick and Morty makes up the plans for these stories as they go along. To quickly recap, if you missed our last video, Evil Morty, Tammy, Phoenix Person, Beth being a clone, these are all things the writers made up as they wrote those respective episodes and sequel episodes. I doubt there's some huge massive story chart in the Rick and Morty writers room that has every big plot point laid out and how they all come together to form this giant finale that'll melt all our faces off. I mean, for half of this show's run, they didn't even know how many episodes they were going to end up getting. How are they supposed to form some Avatar: The Last Airbender level narrative when the show got started out being renewed one season at a time? Now, with all of that being said, I think it's important we ask the question, What's next? Well, let me throw out the possibility. I'm not putting stock into this, so calm down before you throw out the next denial fanboy insult, that Adult Swim and the Rick and Morty team, mainly Adult Swim, could be pulling another trick on us. The reason so many people think the show is done with these stories is because these scenes were featured in the trailer, only for them to be jokes in reality. But the thing is, a few weeks ago we did the episode title breakdowns, and how the titles of the movies they were adapting still line up with the final product of potentially a big story happening. Never Ricking Morty still drew influences from A Never-Ending Story, which means Child Rick of Mort would still draw influences from Children of Men. A dystopian society flick and Star Mort Return of the Jerry could still be a Star Wars parody. These titles are definitely crazy though, one thing's for sure. But that could be inferred that these episodes might still be about Evil Morty and the Federation. While that obviously isn't a for sure thing and could be something else entirely, there still could be a chance. But now if it happened, the arrival of these plot elements would be by surprise, which is what the Rick and Morty team would probably want anyways. Adult Swim tricking the audience and the Rick and Morty team subverting expectations because they knew the reaction Never Ricking Morty would yield, messing with the fans' heads, and then delivering on the payoff afterwards would be the perfect way to reel everyone back in for season 5. Right now, a lot of people are mad at Rick and Morty, and some people have even sworn the show off, but I find it hard to believe that nobody's going to be tuning in next week. I know I am for sure. Look, at the end of the day, I truly cannot see Rick and Morty's writing team just waving the white flag and disowning all of these plot points because the fans ruined it for them. Sorry to say, but Adult Swim is a company, and at the end of the day, the purpose of the show in the eyes of the company is to make money, which was also another point of the episode. And the people working on Rick and Morty are full-grown adults. For both of those reasons, I think all parties have thick enough skin where fans driving them up the wall with theories won't translate automatically to, well, then we won't do the story at all. That's not realistic, that's not rational, that's a tantrum that can lose money, which is exactly why I understand all of the reactions coming out of the new episode. Because on first glance, without analyzing it or thinking about the bigger picture at all, that's exactly how it could come off to the fans that have been submitting theories and talking about the show since season 1. And it's not like Dan Harmon isn't an infamous creator. He's had his fair share of controversies in the past, especially on Community. But the bottom line is no matter what Rick and Morty does, they always tend to make the right decision, and they always keep it fresh. Maybe the Evil Morty plotline was too simple and we kind of all figured it out. It wasn't fun anymore. All that meant for them is that they had to get craftier and more creative, which is their job. However, looking at Rick and Morty's track record, we likely won't see a big episode until the season finale, so check back in a few weeks and prepare to hand us a huge L if nothing happens. We'll take it gladly and proudly. This is just a possibility, and we like to speculate on stuff, despite the new episode. But at the end of the day, we want to know what you guys think about all of this. Do you agree with our opinions in this video? Do you think we're wrong? Let us know in the comments down below, tweet to us for Roundtable vids, or me at @RetroNemo. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more incredible cartoon content. As always, guys, I'm Nemo, this is a Rick and Morty video, and I will see you next time. Peace.